Hello everybody and welcome back to another video in Howling Stones. Yes, last video we made it to the safe spot in the north wing. Today we're going to continue on and crawl through the north wing here. Yeah, fortunately this wing has a safe spot, so it's a nice little area you can camp out, come back in. But before we go, let's review the map and kind of get a plan of action for crawling through this area. I really like visuals. They help me, plot and understand what I'm going into and help strategize. The first plan of action is we're going to be heading to room number 3, which is marked A. That's a pretty easy room to get to. You just have to deal with, there may be 2 or 3 pathers, but it's a straight shot up from the safe spot. Just be careful of the rug. And then show you all how to pull that room. It's one of the easiest rooms to pull because 1 and 2, I'm pretty sure that's 1, it's not marked, but 1 and 2 are straight across from each other and there's a path that goes back and forth. So if you're not careful, you can get yourself into trouble because there's 5 mobs in where I have marked C and then like 3 or 4 in B. So this is something I realized I took from somebody else's video. I'm a big fan of RektYou, and I've watched his Enchanter dungeon crawls, and I realized I got the map thing from RektYou. So if you are up for some Enchanter dungeon crawling, you play an Enchanter, he provides great content for learning. I've learned a lot from him, not only as a necromancer, but as an Enchanter as well. So please check out his channel. I've learned quite a bit from him, and also I just want to cite my sources. I've gotten quite a bit of my Howling Stones dungeon crawl techniques from RektYou. Usually when I start here, I look just to the right. There's these 2 static mobs here, and I just clear a little path just in case if I need an emergency, running to. Right here, you see there's a couple pathers. I'll just speed it up here to so it's best to just kind of clear, in my opinion, clear these out. So this is just the right of the safe spot. Clear them out and then head back. You never know. It's good to have the pathers down before you start crawling here, so that way you're not on some odd time schedule and, well, you don't meet in an inopportune time when you have like 3 or 4 mobs rooted and then your charm breaks and you're out of mana and everything else. It's happened to me. Here's how it goes in Howling Stones. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. But let's get started on this first little room here. This is what I labeled number 1 on the map. So that Greater Warbone skeleton it's a pather. It goes in and out of the room. Middle will go directly outside of the room. Other than that, there's 3 enemies in that room that are static. So basically, I like to get what I call a torpedo and do the torpedo method, where I've got a missile and I launch it into enemy territory, and then just like a fishing net, I bring everything back and root it all. So you see those mobs in there. I'll attack the one that's most inside. Now my pet's health is going down quite a bit. It's not as bad as it can be because there's 2 Bile golems, so those don't harm touch. But if you get a room full of all skeletons, and specifically they all harm touch, well, your pet could be going down pretty quick. But like my little tip had shown, or my little note, I like to get them all clumped up. So I've got the 2 Bile golems rooted. I've got the Sepulcher skeleton rooted as well. And when my pet gets low enough, I'll just break it, and then here I was probably fumbling around because I was like, I don't have deflux up. I like to use deflux because it's like 90 mana. So, and then it's also a life tap. Quick cast life tap. So you get a quick cast, you get a life tap, you harm the enemy, and you heal yourself. Hey, Not much better there. And then it can clear the mob pretty quick. So I like to use deflux on the quick breaks. Pretty soon that greater warbone skeleton it's pacified right now. I just figured it would be better to at least have one pacified. That way later we can come to it. But pretty well what you're going to be doing is, like I said, you're just going to be rooting everything in a clump. And I'm pretty sure I got this from RektYou too. And then charming the skeletons. And just, if you have living creatures, I would suggest at least putting a splurt on those creatures. And potentially another dot too. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I knew he was breaking. So that's actually good. So this worked out almost perfectly. He's right in between the Bile golems and he's attacking my skeleton. My skeleton's rooted. Voila. Can't work out much better. This is textbook how you do a clump. It just fell into my hands. It won't always fall into your hands, but this time it did. So I'm going to celebrate my victories because I've got plenty of losses to go. And, you know, big deal. You'll have roots breaking from time to time. That's about the... That's, what am I trying to say? That's a big risk factor in this area. Yeah, I had to... as you can probably guess, I had to flop it. That's a big risk factor in this area is letting wear off too slow. And I don't use Gina, so that hurts me when I'm not paying attention. So that's where Gina can be helpful. But here we go. We're going to fast forward. We had the Spectre Sepulcher spawn. And this was a better yet play. Because basically I had two Spectres, a Oblation, and then I charmed with an Oblation. So usually I don't think the Spectres harm touch. I'm pretty sure that the Oblations and the human-looking skeletons don't. But for the Spectres, I don't think they do. I've not experienced that. So, hey, I think we got lucky here. Anyway, but I do think they have a life tap, and I'm not sure if it's a combat life tap or if it's a casted life tap proc. I think they're monks usually. Yeah, anyway, the Spectre Sepulcher is the more desirable name that you want. The reason why is it has a chance to drop in Adamantite Club, which that is the, what is it, 1525 club for monks with a 60 direct damage and stun. Yeah, who's the developer's favorite class in Kunark and Velios? I'm pretty sure Monk was up there. They get all kinds of goodies. And then just in a place like Howling Stones from a level 50 mob, you get one of your best droppable pre-raid blunt weapons. What do necromancers get? Oh, well, necromancer's just great anyway. They get the worst epic, probably, in my opinion. Although the epic's nice. It's nice. It's not terrible. It's just I've added it up in the necromancer total stats for all the strength, stamina, agility, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, charisma stuff. That all adds up to 40 from what I can calculate. Every other epic is 50. Why they shafted necromancers, I don't know. I would have taken extra 10 charisma. Gladly. Glad he would have taken extra 10 charisma. I would have taken extra 10 stamina. But, well, it's just disappeared. All right, well, that's our first name down. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working and crawling towards B and C now. And pulling those rooms. Now, B is the key room. There's a ground spawn, and right where the ground spawn is, that's where our name spawns to. So that's where we want to be headed to. We've already done a lot of the clearing already. Well, actually, probably getting respawns here, but hey, that's no problem. This isn't too bad of a crawl. You just got those couple of pathers. Yeah, so getting this way, you just got 2 static spawns, one right by that little area I'm at, and then the other one in the corner. That feaster was likely, well, without, it definitely was a pather, but it comes from just in front of the boss room, and then it'll come down here. Then I think it does a full square, if I'm not mistaken, so it'll come towards me. Then there's another path or somewhere that does pass in the opposite direction. And charm broke. Hooray. That's alright. Now at this point, probably would have just been better off rooting it and then hitting it with the dot. Oh well. You live, you learn. As long as you live. Because you don't always live, but you still learn. But you live, you learn. You die, you still learn. Everquest is unforgiving, but in some aspects it's very forgiving. Alright, let's circlet this Sepulcher deflux, although we are full health for once. Not a common sight. You won't see me at full health a lot. And I said this before, but my risk aversion is kind of... I'm not very aversive to risk. In other words, I like taking risks. Like, I don't care. If I've got a 5% chance of winning, then it's a chance I'll take. But here's that other path that I was talking about. I think it was just trying to come and sneak behind us. Dirty little sepulcher skeleton trying to harm touch me from the back. All right. Well, there's that room. I think that's room. Was it 2? Yeah, room 2B, the key room that I was trying to get into. So there's one path that goes in room 2 to room 1. Then there's 3 static spawns. So we know we got 2 skeletons to deal with. And I'll show you a little trick to deal with those pretty soon. Probably should have just... Yeah, let's just fast forward through this. I decided we should fast forward. Nothing else to see here. Now this is a different clip. I went back and looked, and in bone form, if you're not a gnome, you can go and look. See, that's a room with all of the Ixar skeletons. I think those are all Ixar skeletons. Basically, if you send a torpedo in that room, it'll probably get blown up before it'll get a chance to attack. Let's see. I think I made a mistake. I didn't calculate 100%. I think the harm touches I had previously were 350 plus, but I think in this wing they're closer to 400. I'm not sure about that 100%, but they're definitely more than I had thought. So you got to be careful when you're breaking these rooms. I generally try to put a mana skin on if I'm not 100% sure. If I've got a room full of 3, 4, yeah, let me do it. You got 2 close together. I tried to pacify. The reason why I try to do that is because if you charm one of them, they're both going to come at you. And sometimes I'm just not quick enough on the trigger. You might have your pet attack bound to a key where you could just target and then send your pet. I'm not that quick, and I don't like having a bunch of hotkeys. I just like the point and click play. Kind of lazy in that aspect. So instead I pacify, so that way I can just charm one skeleton and then send the other one out. But again, I want to reiterate, you're going to want to have your charisma 75 or plus if you're going to be pacifying. I'll be doing a little bit more here, but if you've got a low charisma, less than that, basically you're getting a penalty every time you're casting charisma. With a charisma modifier, with a low charisma modifier penalty on a Rest of the Dead, that's going to result in a higher chance of critical resists. Ordinarily, you'd just be getting resists in a couple critical resists, but if you're below 75, again, I'm just going to reiterate, you're going to get a lot of critical resists. Especially, I know some of y'all, you like that negative Cha gear. I've known somebody that's down in the 10s. You're probably going to get a lot of resists. Now, you're right. Sarleon, you can say, Sarleon, there's no conclusive evidence, and there's no authority on necromancer necromancer lull mechanics. But I've tested it out. From what I've felt in having less than 75 charisma and 100 charisma, it's a night and day difference. 60 charisma versus 100 charisma. 100 charisma is going to get pacifies the land and avoid critical resists 75% more or more of the time. So, yeah, my recommendation, if that's important to you, get that gear before you go any further. If it's not, I'll try to do my best as far as providing feedback and alternate options. But you get later in this dungeon, having a ability to pacify undead reliably or semi-reliably it's invaluable. It's something you can't replace. It's going to become much needed, especially if you're wanting to do boss rooms in South or something. But I digress. Moving into that, in a similar sentiment, I'm going to show you all. So we can kind of see a little bit into that room. If you're nimble enough and good enough with your target macros or target typing, yeah, there's a heck of a room right there. I'll living except for one. Oh boy. There's your pather you got. Little feaster, see how it goes. It goes in the middle, then it goes to the other room. I actually think you can pull the center mob. Like right now, if I pull that feaster, I can get the center mob solo. So you might be able to try that out too. But use, obviously, at your own precautions, because as much as you try, things just might go south despite your best efforts. So I gave you a couple formats here. Now I got a Sepulcher skeleton, and as long as it's the closest one next to us, we can target, and you can actually pacify through walls. It's just like healing. Healing goes wherever. It kind of ignores Z-axis. It ignores walls. But this is a tip that will help you break into some rooms without having direct line of sight. If you don't want to mucking around with that placeholder, it's perfect. Otherwise, what I'm doing, I'm circling a shadow since I know that middle pather is a feaster. And what I'm going to do here is, let's see here. I'm just going to, this is kind of risky, but I am going to charm the last undead in there. And another method for breaking into this room is just killing inside the room. So that way I can just pull these back and make it easy. In this room you'll see a ground spawn we're going to go towards. Right there, right behind the boss name holder, is the sacrificial robe clasp. And that's the key you need to get into the north boss door. Now what I did here is, I didn't really like the format. I didn't feel like clearing the room. I just wanted to show that. So I just harm shielded out of there so that way no mobs would, hit me while I was running out. I just didn't want to deal with it at this time. And then I came back and feigned at the safe spot. But alternately, you can just take out the spawns in that room while you're in the room if you pull them. The other room method for pulling is just simply with pacifies. Another tip I have for pacifies is try to con and find the lowest con in that group. You're going to have, well, obviously I shouldn't have my Zelandicor's heart because it's got negative charisma. So yeah, let's keep that charisma gear up. But I'll start with the lowest. con, and that'll give me the highest chances because one factor I know for sure that goes into successful pacifies is the difference, just like charming, the difference between the mob and the caster. The larger that difference is, the higher your success rate, as with any spell, right? But then you add some charisma in. You do that, you're going to have some higher chances, and then you work your way up to the highest level mob in that. That way, if something were to happen, you do get a critical resist, you don't have 4, 5, 3, a whole horde of mobs, a whole horde of undead coming at you to harm touch you to death. Because believe me, it will happen. It's going to happen at some point. You're going to get the first critical resist, or you're going to sit in front of a door, or something is going to barely see you and trigger a chain reaction. It's just going to happen. So you just got to work with what you have. Keep your wits about you. Use best practices. And just like I mentioned, start with the lowest level, work yourself up. But yeah, I was actually going after that room 1. So the middle placeholder is the named, and this doesn't look very good. Yeah, this is kind of dangerous. That's why I prefer to, when you're starting out here, just pull 1 or 2 at a time when you're getting started. I've got a bit more of an HP pool, so I can afford some things going sideways, but I know that might not be the case if you're 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, etc. So yeah, just be patient. I could practice my patience a lot better. But here's room 2. I'm just, again, just giving you another alternative. This is just more work and doing some pacify pulls. I got that pather. That's a pather this time. Getting the second one pacified. There we go. And then, since those 2 are pacified, I could pretty well just walk in here. Now, these are really low, but you can still work it out. Now, if they're a higher level, I wouldn't want to stand that close, but since they're pacified, you just pull them out and then kind of go from there. But yeah, you just got to practice stuff over and over. I was in here probably a good 4 hours just working on charming, getting to know the zone, getting to know the different rooms, getting to know the pathers, getting to know where the static spawns were, getting better at my charm breaks, all that. So just keep working, and then you'll eventually. That's the I guess hallmark of this zone. The longer you come here, you get better, you get more knowledgeable. The more knowledgeable you are, the more wisely you can approach situations, and with a calm sense of self. The more calm you are, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the better this zone is for you. So it works out in your favor. Just get familiar and watch others too. Stuff like that happens too. Just Pather just randomly spawns and then harm touches me. Thank you, Howling Stones. Again, anything that can go wrong will go wrong in Howling Stones. Oh, I love it. So I'm just gonna use my little torpedo here, get the room cleared out. But something I found out there is those Spectres. I think they're mostly monks, so that's pretty cool. It's kind of neat. So if you want a monk pet, you can get the Spectre, little Spectres flying around. Do some extra kicking. Put those bones through. Give them a hard time. And finally, I got my second name, which is a Sentient Bile. Now again, in the I do need to get better at keeping track of timers. I admit that, first and foremost. I was just going ham when I got here. Just anything that was up, I was going after it. I'm not the cool steady type that keeps notes and keeps a million timers. I'm just not. But you know what? That's okay because we got the name pulled. My pet's health is about 30. I've got 10 mana. What could possibly go wrong? Well, let me give you a little tip for that. You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind. You don't sit in front of a harm-touched stranger, and you know you just can't win. Watch the doors, everybody. Oh, man. Everything was going swimmingly. And then all of a sudden, I just really lost track. I knew respawns were happening, but I just got too greedy. I got too greedy. I got too impatient. So my number one tip for you, be aware of the respawn timers and don't get too impatient. Pull to where you know there's not going to be respawns and just be patient. I've learned my lesson. Don't sit anywhere near doors. Nowhere near doors. Nowhere. Far away. Far long and away from doors. I will no longer sit in front of any doors. I've had it burned into my buns. I'd like to say that's the last time I'm going to make that mistake, but who knows. But anyway, as y'all see here, we have the Golem Master spawning. And this is the last name I'll do. Like I said, I was here for almost 4 hours. And I saw 2, came back later, saw another one. I got all the undead pacified, so I'm just going to pull with snare. So that way I can get this under control. That the pet will take the Pyro Golem, and then I will just root the Golem Master here. I'm going to want to get ahead on dots because the Golem Master, the thing in Howling Stones is versus Charasis is the mobs actually are quite a bit well and above higher level than the average mobs you'll find in that wing. So I think the Golem Master is maybe level 50. It's got a ton of HP compared to all the skeletons around here. So be prepared when you're going ahead. In North Wing, they're significantly more. In West Wing, they're about average, a little bit more. In South, they are a little bit evened out. Also in East, too. So just keep that in mind. But, hey, we got 3 names. Not terrible. I'll take what I can get. But this will be finishing up my crawl here through the North Wing once I get this master down. And then I've been here long enough. I mean, I don't want my videos to get too long. So I'm going to finish up here. We'll do another video on the boss wing. And I think that'll wrap it up. So as we take down the Golem Master, thank you all very much. I really appreciate you watching. And I'm always aiming to provide commentary and instructional videos that is helpful for you to learn different zones and learn the playstyle of Necromancer. We're definitely upping the ante from Charasis or a lot of other zones because this place just is tough with all the harm-touching mobs, the highly dense packed areas with densely populated, mobs and crowds. So yeah, this has been really fun. The North Wing was a nice introduction. This is a great place to EXP, a good place to get names, even probably better than West. Get yourself a nice admin type club before you exit out of here. It's also a great experience as well. Take it a little bit cooler than I did, but the room pulls are really cool. However, this will end it for this part of our North Wing crawl. On the following video, I will be going into the Boss Wing. I can't wait. It's really fun. Some cool stuff happens. I can't wait for y'all to see it. So take care and thanks. Have a good day.